The boys are back in town!
The Jak and Daxter Collection is a remastered collection that features the 3 original games, Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, Jak II, and Jak III. The Jak and Daxter games started as action platformers, with the later entries introducing new gameplay elements, such as vehicles, weapons, and different forms for Jak to battle enemies on his journey. The trilogy was originally developed by Naughty Dog and was their first game on the PlayStation 2 in 2001, which followed their successful Crash Bandicoot series on the PlayStation. The remastered collection was developed by Mass Media Games and released on the PlayStation 3 in 2012. The collection was a part of PlayStation's line of HD classics, which also featured other notable games, such as the Sly Cooper and Ratchet and Clank collections, remastered in HD for the PS3. The first Jak and Daxter game was one of the early PS2 titles that showed the new console's capabilities and received critical acclaim on release for its gameplay and graphics. Jak and Daxter became one of the PS2's defining series, and all 3 games obtained greatest hit status. Thanks to the PS3 collection and PS4 releases, the franchise as a whole has sold over 15 million copies. It's now available on multiple PlayStation consoles, which allows fans many ways to enjoy the adventures of Naughty Dog's dynamic duo.
I'll let Jak handle these lurkers. Once in a while I throw him a bone. Yeah, I let him have these ones too. He's been a little rusty, so
Hi, Jak.
Hey! I was just talking about you.
A new legacy is born, ready for everyone.
Development on the first Jak and Daxter game began in early 1999. By this time, Naughty Dog had completed 3 Crash Bandicoot games and were working on their last entry in the series. The majority of the team were still working on Crash Team Racing, while a couple of developers started work on their next project. The team wanted to move away from the Crash Bandicoot series because they didn't own the rights to the IP and had a restrictive relationship with the publisher. Their work on the Crash Bandicoot games was contracted, and ultimately Universal Interactive retained the rights to the series. After finishing development on Crash Team Racing, the rest of the Naughty Dog team joined the new project to focus their efforts on their next-gen game. Up until this point, Naughty Dog had been an independent developer founded in 1984, but during production on Jak and Daxter, Sony acquired the studio and became a first-party developer for PlayStation. When developing Crash Bandicoot, Naughty Dog had taken a genre that worked in 2D and applied it to a 3D space. They wanted to push more boundaries with Jak and Daxter by creating a seamless open-world 3D environment. In contrast to Crash Bandicoot's linear levels, one of the team's main goals with Jak and Daxter was to make a multi-leveled world with no load times after the start screen or in between levels. Naughty Dog co-founder Jason Rubin explained, "One of the core things that we decided to do was no load times, which was incredibly difficult. The tricks we had to pull and how many times we had to change and fix things to get that working, we might have overachieved, to be honest." As for the characters, Naughty Dog wanted something new for the PS2 and took inspiration from Western and Eastern media. They wanted to move away from the caricature of Crash to allow for character development with Jak throughout the series. Since Jak was initially a silent protagonist before receiving a voice in Jak II, they added the wisecracking sidekick and best friend, Daxter, to balance the duo on their adventure.
After being transported to a foreign world, wrongfully imprisoned, then tortured for 2 years, anyone would give up hope. Well, almost anyone. Let's go take care of business.
Now, looking at the collection, the first game introduces us to the eponymous duo. The two head out to the mysterious Misty Island, where Daxter falls into a pool of dark eco and emerges as an orange otter-weasel hybrid. Jak and Daxter then return home to Sandover Village to seek the sage's help to reverse Daxter's condition and begin their quest. The first game is primarily a platformer focused on exploration and collection. When developing the world of Jak and Daxter, Naughty Dog wanted to create a highly detailed world full of grand vistas, landscapes, and landmarks to immerse the player. One of the standout features of the game is the variety of locations, such as Sentinel Beach, Forbidden Jungle, and Fire Canyon, with each of them having their own set of obstacles. Throughout their journey, the duo have to find precursor orbs that can be traded for power cells to progress through the story. While there are plenty of items to collect, not everything has to be gathered unless the player wants to see the secret ending that sets up the sequel. Jak II continues the story of the the first game, where Jak and crew find technology left behind by the Precursors and get lost in time after going through a portal. The sequel sees an older Jak on a quest for revenge, reflecting the darker and more mature themes of the game. Given the release of the groundbreaking Grand Theft Auto 3 in 2001, Jak II took inspiration in the form of its open-world mission structure, vehicles, and weapons. Jak III directly follows the events of the previous game. After saving the day, Jak is blamed for new problems that arise and is exiled into the wasteland, where he's found by a group of desert dwellers. A few more weapons are introduced to Jak's arsenal, and there's a bigger environment with an emphasis on vehicles, which was later expanded on in Jak X Combat Racing. Today there are many ways to play the Jak and Daxter trilogy, but each have their own pros and cons. For any gaming enthusiasts that prefer to play the games on original hardware, there's the PS2 release. Keep in mind that most modern TVs don't support composite or component cables, meaning you'll need a CRT TV or a converter. The PS3 collection stands out because these are remastered versions with upgraded visuals that run at a consistent 60 frames per second for a smooth gaming experience. However, there is a known bug, the punch glitch, which can result in unwanted deaths. For the PS4 release, one might assume that they're the remastered PS3 collection versions, but no, they're actually emulated PS2 versions. While these look good in HD, they're known to have an inconsistent frame rate and limited directional input, but at least there's no punch glitch. Despite these issues, the PS4 versions might be more convenient for people who don't have older consoles and are backwards compatible on PS5.
Well, Jak, it's over. There's just one thing left to say. I am your father.
What?
I'm your father!
Right, yeah.
Listen to your feelings.
You're not my
No,
father.
seriously, your mother and I...
The epic Jak trilogy is coming to its dramatic conclusion.
Before you were born, obviously.
Rest assured, it won't end like this.
It's now been over 20 years since Naughty Dog first introduced fans to Jak and Daxter in 2001. Although they have gone on to develop bigger and better games, such as the critically acclaimed Uncharted and The Last of Us series, they've continued to show admiration for their earlier work. Both Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter have received nods in their new series. The Uncharted games have all featured the Precursor Orb as a collectible, and The Last of Us also had a few Jak and Daxter Easter eggs. Uncharted 4 took things a bit further with a scene that featured the series protagonist Nathan Drake playing the first Crash Bandicoot game on the original PlayStation. While there hasn't been a new Jak and Daxter game, fans are still holding out for a new entry. Naughty Dog at one point had started to conceptualize ideas for a Jak 4 game. They wanted to revisit the series after all their work on the Uncharted franchise, but they felt that these new ideas strayed too far away from the core of Jak and Daxter. In the end, the project was scrapped and Naughty Dog moved forward with The Last of Us. However, we haven't seen the last of Jak and Daxter as they continue to make cameo appearances in other PlayStation games, most recently in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Interest in the Jak and Daxter series has continued to grow thanks to the resurgence of other platformer games such as the remastered Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy and Spyro Reignited Trilogy. There's also the success of another PS2 classic, Ratchet and Clank, which made the jump to PS3, continued on the PS4 with a reboot, and received a sequel on the PS5. Naughty Dog co-president Evan Wells commented on Insomniac's accomplishment with Ratchet and Clank. He stated, "We do not have Jak and Daxter here in development right now, but we still love the characters, and I see what you guys are doing with Ratchet, and that makes me wish that we did, and we would have one in development because there's still a lot of love for Jak and Daxter in the studio."
Jak and Daxter have arrived and need your help. Toonami's giving you the chance to join in the adventure. We're giving away 20 PlayStation 2s and 500 copies of Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy. Rated E for everyone.